John, I'm so glad to have you here today. I know you traveled all the way from London to Wales to be here. So let's kick off with, as the CEO of J2 Software, what does that actually mean?
Well, yeah, dragged me all the way to Cardiff. Thanks for that, Michélle. So J2 is a cybersecurity-led services provider. We help put practical controls in place to build digital resilience for modern business.
Okay.
And the reality is today, everyone in one way or another is a digital business. And our controls are there to allow people to work securely from anywhere. We work with just over 700 customers on 5 continents, in existence for more years than I can count because I only have 10 figures. And yeah, I moved to the UK to help drive the growth of our UK operation, using London as the base for UK, Ireland, rest of Europe. Moving to a new country is stressful. I think it's one of the top 2 most stressful things in the world, depending who you listen to, right? But moving countries, moving home, different cultures, different.
We definitely underestimated it.
Oh yeah, and
We definitely underestimated it from our side.
and rather than celebrating what we've done, because it's such a big step and it's such a great opportunity, like I focused the other way. So deciding that, understanding I made a decision, I was here, and I needed to really absolutely, and it was like, at the same time, ridiculously fortunate to have the opportunity, for future opportunities, for the business, for everything else, and as soon as I took that on board, it changed everything.
So basically a mindset of looking at opportunities. Like the thing for us, I said from the beginning, I said to my husband, this is an adventure. Like we're framing it as an adventure. And I think that sort of helps. And what I'm hearing from you is that at some point you also went and you framed it as an opportunity versus something that you had to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you have to, wherever you are, the decisions that's gotten you to this place, if you just absolutely exploit every opportunity you have and look forward, it appears.
Yes, it almost like melts off. Yeah, definitely melts off. What would you say in terms of cybersecurity is the biggest difference that you're seeing with clients in South Africa versus clients in the UK?
Okay, well, around the cybersecurity piece, the piece that is the most, that's the same, is that everybody thinks it's not going to happen to them. And nobody cares about cybersecurity until
they care.
Until the cyber criminal forces you to care about cybersecurity. That's exactly it. When you see the pop-up message on all the desktops across the world going, we have your data and it's all encrypted and all lost. So that was one of the other pieces. And yeah, so that's the same no matter where you are in the world. It's not
Nobody thinks it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen to me, even though today every single person you talk to knows somebody or some business that has been compromised, has been breached, but it's never going to happen to them. The biggest difference for me, for example, in financial services, is there's a range of compliance requirements that people do take seriously.
Of course, yes.
And I'd say what people get wrong most of the time is that when they fill out these questionnaires, so if you want to do work with a local authority or whatever it is, you've got to get Cyber Essentials.
I'm assuming the UK takes it a lot more seriously than South Africa.
So there's more enforcement, and that's the only reason. It's not because people are more conscientious. It's just because there's greater enforcement.
But haven't you found, like on that, what something that I found in the UK that's frustrated me is in South Africa, things move really quickly. Like things move really quickly, and whether that is getting it done via a brown envelope, whether that's because you know somebody that knows somebody, or whether it's just a case of people don't have time to waste. You know, the country is forced to be efficient. The country is forced to look for profit margin. Whereas I found in the UK, like things move a lot slower, you know, whether it is because of compliance, that's definitely one factor. And also just in general, like your lead time on sales is slower. Everything just moves slower.
Yeah. So I found that to be very frustrating when I first got here because I didn't understand it. What I've come to understand, but could learn something new next week. Let's not lie. What I think's come is that people take a lot longer to make that decision, but when it happens, then it has to happen quickly. But that the time it's taken to do that is building up of trust. Like that's really what it's about. Especially when they don't know who you are, they don't know the brand, they don't know how long you've been about. We all talk with different accents, all of these kinds of things, and it takes that amount of time to build up trust. We've had customers here that have credit that they've been amazed by the work we're providing in out of our cybersecurity center, and they love the work we're doing. But it's taken them 9, 10, 11 months before they were willing to refer us to any of their friends or fellow businesses. And again, it's a trust thing. It to me, I think it's driven within, it's just the way people think and operate here. So things don't happen as quickly as you want them to. But in hindsight, thinking back to when I started the business in South Africa in 2006, if we're completely honest, it probably took just as long then. It's just that you're at a different stage in the South African entity as you were in the UK. Like I think there's a lot of these pieces,
But you know, that's an interesting thing that you mentioned, because I think Nimacc started in 2016. But I think what made it move quicker, or felt like it moved quicker than when we started Nimacc Global in the UK, was the fact that you've got a lot of connections to fall back on. So you know a lot of people. It's easier to get into rooms just because you've built a network, you've built connections. You know, you've studied with a lot of people. I did articles with a lot of people. Whereas when you come here, I came up very arrogant. I was like, I can build business in Africa. I've been held up by the military police in Mozambique. I've traveled alone to Zambia. You know, like I can build business anywhere in the world. And I was in for a very humbling, rude awakening.
play by different rules.
It's a
Well,
different set of
I do
rules.
this.
It's a different board game, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely different board game. And then what do you think, John, in terms of, I know you and I've touched on it, but in terms of social media and digital transformation and cybersecurity, because I know from my side, like I'm finding there's a lot of noise out there. It's almost like every second person, I think you guys are seeing it as well, especially in the cybersecurity space. Every second person that's a Microsoft partner is popping up and saying, we can offer you this in terms of cybersecurity. But you and I both know that it's not real cybersecurity, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the other challenge, is that noise. And any booming industry will have that. So that's why digital transformation. I go back years ago to my last job as an employee. I was involved with ERPs when ERPs were just starting to become a big thing, and then everyone was an ERP provider. Whereas now in cybersecurity, like a year ago, someone was laying network cables and putting infrastructure in, but now they're a cybersecurity business. When in reality, what a lot of people are doing is they're reselling some other service that they don't actually have the skills to support. They can't they don't understand what the tooling's telling them, and their customers believe they're safe just because, well, they've said that. And yet they allow devices without multi-factor authentication. They have no password controls. And when something happens, they have no idea that someone's even within the environment. And then ask the provider, and they're going, yeah, well, I don't know what's wrong. How did this happen? And that noise is created by everyone else talking about it. The number of breaches is up. Yeah, you got to use that other term that most people throw around without knowing what it means, AI. All of those kinds of things are making it more relevant. So everyone's just throwing what their understanding is. And unless you properly understand the subject matter, you're just lining your customer up for failure.
So I saw something flash across my screen the other day, you know, when you get into this YouTube and Google black hole, and it said something like 96% of companies have adopted AI. Okay, so to me, that just screams absolute rubbish. Do you have a quick thought on that?
I always say, if I'm fortunate to give a talk or wherever I am at, I love statistics because 95% of them are made up. But ultimately, for me, saying 96 have been adopted, personally, I don't think it's accurate. I think at least 96% of businesses have AI being used within them, but they haven't necessarily been adopted by the businesses, by individuals who have started using some or other large language model, some new vibe coding tool, or some other AI that's in the business, but it's unsanctioned or uncontrolled, ungoverned, and that's where a lot of security risks come about.
So adoption is really relative in this regard, right? So it's really relative. So we also see that when we do implement cloud-based systems. I mean, you know what we do by now, but when we do go into a business and we say, what is the right tech stack for them? Other than doing a digital transformation overall, a part of that section is like, what is the right tech stack? And all of this is cloud-based software. So, I mean, we literally plug and play different cloud-based softwares as sort of one part of the digital transformation setup that we do. But then from a cybersecurity point of view, because I mean, we don't touch that. We plug and play the software. We've got a number of other aspects that we deliver on. And I mean, the softwares that we use do come with a lot of security backing. I mean, they're well-known softwares. They're not fly-by-nights. But obviously, there's a cybersecurity risk to that. So how would you address something like that? If you walk into a business, they're using multiple plug-and-play cloud-based systems. Everything's working for them. They're pretty efficient. Let's just say perfect world here. They're pretty efficient. They've automated everything that they can. They've got this digital transformation mindset. They're steering away from shiny object syndrome. They've stuck to what works for them. Sort of how would you then address that from a cybersecurity point of view?
So the most amazing thing about cloud-based systems is that they're accessible to absolutely every staff member from wherever they work from. The most dangerous part about cloud-based software is that it's available and accessible to absolutely everybody, no matter where they're on the planet. So for us, it comes down to reviewing configurations. We love to kick off projects with customers, doing a deep cyber risk assessment for them. We don't call it a pen test or any other legacy terms. It's really looking at where their risk is from an attacker's point of view. So if we were to target your business, how would we get in? And cloud-based systems are a simple way in. If we can get a credential, somehow manage to get a credential, is there any visibility outside of that? Has the configuration within those platforms and systems been done correctly? Sometimes somebody forgets to tick a checkbox. So yes, the security is available. It's absolutely available. But if you look at the whole Microsoft 365 environment, Azure, and those kind of the storage and the capabilities, it's phenomenal. But if you're not implementing all the security controls, that's where people come unstuck. And we are seeing that being exploited by attackers, where they're bypassing security because they're actually sticking things directly into users' mailboxes. Did an investigation the other day where it was kind of genius. The attackers sent in a meeting request with a PDF attachment. So obviously,
I actually heard. Oh, that was your post. Yes.
So the thing with that is you get this meeting request, you see this meeting. Oh, I've forgotten this meeting. So the first thing you want to do is, what is this about again? Open the PDF. That PDF leads you to another page. That page takes you another piece where you then enter your credential. That's stolen. They steal the session ID. And again, that's one of the things we say all the time. We don't have to, people don't hack you anymore. They log in. All we got to do is trick you into putting your credentials in the wrong place and log in. And if you don't know that they're there because it's out of the ordinary, there's a gap in your resilience stack, and that's the piece to go.
I think from a digital transformation and a cybersecurity point of view, I think the biggest risk at the moment in the market is that these things have become so easy to implement, or to run your own scan, or to sign up for a free trial on the software, that businesses think it's okay to try and do it themselves. And I think that's where the biggest risk lies, because that's when it becomes shiny object syndrome. People are plugging and playing different cloud-based softwares. They plugging and playing different security measures. Because it's so easy, people are adopting to do it themselves. And I actually think that's where the biggest risk lies for businesses at the moment with digital transformation and cybersecurity, is that they're trying to plug and play these cloud-based models and things themselves.
Absolutely. We see that it is so easily accessible. And if you don't know the piece in the back end, and the conversation I normally have with people is like, when you mention cyber risk, cybersecurity, they're like, oh, it's an IT thing. That's the IT person's job. I'm like, if you have the IT person responsible for cybersecurity, the IT person should be the one that ensures your systems are running, they're available, always up, etc. If you want them to also be the security person, like this, you can't do both.
It's different skill sets, and we're finding that a lot in the digital transformation space is that either people are going and they're implementing zero accounting and they're saying we've now digitally transformed. And I always say to people, then I actually want to kick them in the face. And I'm like, no, you've implemented an accounting system. You haven't done anything on digital transformation. You've just implemented an accounting system. Or it's a case of they're just throwing these words around, like what you said earlier, AI this, AI that, but they don't even know what it means half the time. And then on that as well, what a lot of people don't realize is that ChatGPT does lie to you. So although you might now be the IT expert at the office, where you're using your IT team member to now face the cybersecurity or look at the digital transformation, they may be reverting to ChatGPT, which is not really giving you the right answer anyway. Like, you've still got to look at ChatGPT with a bit of savvy, a bit of knowledge. You still got to understand the topic to know when to call bullshit, right?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's the same as implementing a CRM system. If you put crap in, you get crap out. So if someone doesn't know the right way to prompt any AI, they're going to get a half-baked answer because you've asked a half-baked question. Like, that's the way the world works. And yeah, digital transformation, cybersecurity, massively misunderstood terms. And yeah, so we are digitally transformed. Cool, because you've implemented a new account system. Brilliant. How do you take orders? Oh, we fill in this form. But that's manual, right? And so I get that, like all of those, and we get the same piece.
And you touched on it earlier as well, is that people contact you when the problem is there. And I must say, we share that sort of sentiment, or we share that within the digital transformation space, is the amount of rescue sites we attend to versus the amount of new, fresh implementations and fresh digital transformation journeys is actually quite crazy. We've got so many people contacting us that have already made a stuff up of it, or they're already sitting with too many software solutions, or they're sitting with a cybersecurity issue caused by an easy plug and play model. And I think you guys also find that a lot at the sound of things, that the time people contact you, it actually becomes a rescue site versus a precautionary journey.
Absolutely. I think that the worst part is when you speak to people in these situations, like, it has a real mental toll on people, and it's devastating, and there's this sense of loss and all, and you almost want to go like, why haven't you acted? But you can't, because these people have been a victim of a crime. Essentially, when they call in a panic, it's not about securing the business. It's about, can we save the reputation? Are we able to get this business even back to operational level? Will they even survive? And there are numerous cases that we've been called on about, and it's literally just too late.
But I do think, like, in terms of adapting to this and adapting to tech and digital transformation, there's a very big gap between sort of the older generation's knowledge and the younger generation's knowledge. Like, the younger guys are coming in and they're proper tech savvy. I mean, I see it with our own teams. But the reality is that you still need that sort of that old school grit, that old school way of thinking, that problem solving mindset, which I fear is lacking in a lot of the younger generation. Because if I think, like, when I did my articles, some of the farmers would come and they would bring these big green ledgers, and you would manually have to draw up those trial balances and manually do the general ledgers. So you really needed to understand debit and credit. You needed to understand it was a way of thinking. It was problem solving. If something didn't balance, you had to go and find it. Whereas the newer generation is just reverting to AI and tech for everything. And I really fear that there's like a lack of problem solving skills. And I've often thought in the digital transformation space, specifically from an education point of view, how do you bring that knowledge together? because there's the sort of like the older generation doesn't want to work with the younger generation, and the younger generation just thinks the older generation is old, right? It's old fashioned. So it's like, how do you bring that knowledge together, specifically maybe in your business?
So that's where we shine. Like that's really the beauty of it, is being able to take the ability for problem solving, understanding the basics and the actual fundamentals behind the businesses
Because you've
and
got
how
a
they
mixed team,
operate.
right?
Absolutely,
Older
absolutely.
and younger.
Yeah. So I mean, I've said this. We've got 3 generations of people that are in the workspace. So the first is BBT, which for me is the born before technology.
Okay.
Which are the older folks where everything was manual, absolutely everything was
Is that you,
Amazon,
John?
and they don't.
Are you BBT?
No, I was not BBT. I am. I'm born around technology, so I'm in the generation where technology was introduced. People were still nervous about it, but I was completely tech enabled. I know this because my parents and our neighbors on either side, I had to program all their VCRs. And then we've got the born into technology group. And the younger generation know nothing else but tech. And where in our space we've got to understand how to work with the youngsters is helping them understand that tech can't just be inherently trusted. There are measures you need to put in place. There is security obligations you need to do. When you're using a publicly available large language model, you shouldn't be putting in customer data and specific IP into these things, which become part of the training models for anyone else in the world to understand. I hear people complaining and they're going, well, why is LinkedIn is like it is now today? And, you're not getting now. There's all this other stuff on there. I'm like, the Instagram generation are in management positions at work. That's why. And then they go, "What's the Instagram generation?" I'm like, "Not you. You're probably Facebook generation as opposed to, and hey, the TikTokers are coming. So things are going to get shorter, faster, more entertaining. Otherwise, just be left behind. So we're constantly evolving. It's just, I think, where people get scared and worried is the speed of change. It used to take years for things to evolve. Now it takes months.
Now, my saying is always, and I've said this for many years, the tech space changes quicker than what you can take a shot of tequila. Done. Changed.
Well, it depends how quickly you drink tequila. So that's the big yeah, maybe a couple of shots.
But it is moving. It is moving very quickly. And I look at our Nimacc culture, and we completely embrace tech. I mean, we sell tech for a living, but everybody works nomad. We've got certain rules. Something I feel quite strongly about is to say we can use this tech and we can implement this tech and we can be aware of the tech, but we've still got to keep an old school work ethic when it comes to deliverables. We've still got to keep that old school way of problem solving. How do we problem solve? There's always a way. There's always a way. Like an answer of there isn't a solution is just not an option. But I think that is combined with an old school way of thinking of delivering results, and as well as being aware that there's technology for everything. So I feel quite strongly, especially like in our culture at the office, to say, I say office, but at the workplace, to say, how do we combine old school way of deliverables versus or in conjunction with utilizing technology available? How have you sort of balanced that in your work culture?
So ours is kind of different. So we have people who we are contracted to have eyes on screens, monitoring activity, seeing what's going on and being available.
You've got a physical workspace in Cape Town, eh?
No, Johannesburg's our biggest physical office space. It's where our cybersecurity center is. We are big proponents of pushing for people to build their resilience.
But resilience isn't something you can teach, though.
No, but it's something you can help people understand. And the biggest piece is that if you're not helping guide people as to what resilience is, and for me it's that Rocky Balboa story. No, it's not about how many times you get knocked down. That's how many times you get back up. And we push that through. So we do expect people to make certain mistakes. There are some that are non-negotiable, obviously. But if you're not trying to do things better in a better way, there will be some errors, there will be some mistakes. But then owning it, responsibility and accountability is again, that's our responsibility and accountability, the second principle in our work principles. So it's get stuff done, responsibility and accountability, right? And
It's especially when you're managing remote teams. Like yourself, you're in similar positions, both sitting in the UK, teams back in South Africa. So I think especially when you're managing remote teams, that culture really is important.
yeah, and I think that's part of the new learnings in terms of the chapter we're in now as a business. Doing it our way means we have to do it the J2 way, and that's driving that culture. Something like learning how to do that firstly is
But it
another
also
thing.
comes from many mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you've been in business for so many years, I always say I've made all the mistakes and I've pissed many people off.
But there's mistakes that we're still to make that we have absolutely no idea is going to go on. I think that's okay.
But it's also that resilience and grit that's built up over the years.
But
When we do make mistakes now, it's a little bit different, or it's got a different feeling around it than, I think that when you made a mistake in 2007, for example, or 2008, I think one copes better with it.
Oh, it seemed much more serious back in 2007.
Yes.
But there was also a lot going on in terms of my life. Like that's why resilience and me we're intertwined. There's just no other way to put it. I had testicular cancer at a young age, then ended up recurring a few months into the business being open, and I had you have no choice. There's two people, like you got it. So 3-4 hour chemotherapy slots, 5 days a week, Monday, few days off,
Building a
Monday,
business.
and keep on going. And you had to still be doing the deals and every single potential item, right? And it's because there was no other choice. Like for me, there was no other choice. You can't let something like that take you down.
And it's about taking those experiences, and that helps you drive, it helps you grow, it's helped you expand to the UK. And I think it also keeps you on your A game then with everything cybersecurity as well.
Well, you'd hope so. We hope so. That is the aim. I think what people as business owners do that they don't really understand either, that we beat ourselves, like we beat ourselves up about, is we sometimes forget to stop and just look back, not to harp on anything, but to actually see, take a second to go, stop being so bloody hard on yourself. Look what's actually been able to be achieved in the last thing. The fact that the business is still in operation, the fact that we're here, the fact that we're alive is firstly a massive win. The odds of that are so small, like 1 in several million, whatever it is. The fact that you've got a business, most businesses fail within the first 3 to 5 years. The fact that that's there, and the fact that you've been able to grow the business, no matter who the business owner is. If someone is interested in growing a lifestyle business, fantastic, and this is what they want to build, and they've done it, amazing. Other people want to build global businesses, other people, everything in between. But every now and again, you got to stop and say, rather than freaking out about what's not gone on or what we still have to do, sometimes you need to just take 10 seconds, maybe a little longer, and just reflect and look at what's going on. Like, look at what you've done.
Look at what
There are people that are in the business with us, and their careers are being grown. They have the opportunity to develop as people, and the business has enabled that, and a great reason for that. So just take things, don't get cocky, but go, that's pretty cool. So the next piece will be even more fun if you're able to do that. Because one of the things that I am absolutely certain of, we can't take life too seriously. because it's not permanent.
Mm.
Like none of us are getting out of this alive. So that's like
Might as well have a good time.
every opportunity you can, do have a bit of fun. Like,
Yeah.
and you've got to, otherwise you'll be like I was a couple of years ago. It's miserable.
Yeah, you might as well have a good time.
There was
Yeah.
100%.
So John, thank you so much for coming through to Wales, and I definitely want to do a follow-up on this because it's just been so incredible chatting to you just on tech, resilience, grit, and you and I've had some great chats occasionally as well. So if people wanted to get in contact with you, because we know that digital transformation and cybersecurity goes hand in hand, like it's actually not a question, what would be the easiest way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, firstly, it's been a pleasure. Love spending time in Cardiff. Great city, lots to do. And yeah, the simplest, if people have wanted to connect with me, is LinkedIn. Just look for J2 John McLoughlin, and you should find me. I'm the short guy with the strange accent. And otherwise, pop onto our website, j2mssp.com. It's j2mssp.com.
I was going to say it clearly for the accent,
I
so
forgot
that people,
forget about that.
so people can hear. No, thank you, John. We'll then be in touch and have a safe trip back. Cheers.